The stars stretched across the void like scattered diamonds on black velvet. Captain Nathan Cole stood on the bridge of the Valiant, watching the distant lights with calm eyes. He had been a soldier for 15 years, and in that time, he learned that peace never lasted long. The screen in front of him showed bad news. 300 alien ships were coming. They belonged to the Crithian Empire, the strongest military force in this part of the galaxy. Everyone feared them. Everyone except humans, perhaps, because humans had not yet learned to be afraid. Lieutenant Karen Morris turned from her station. Her face was tight with worry. She was young, maybe 25, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Right now, those eyes showed concern. "Captain, the enemy fleet is still coming toward New Columbia. They will reach the colony in 6 hours," she said. Nathan nodded slowly. New Columbia was home to 50,000 people. Families. Children. People who left Earth to build a new life among the stars. They trusted humanity to protect them. He would not let them down. "What does the Galactic Council say?" Nathan asked, though he already knew the answer. Commander Jack Sullivan, his first officer, looked up from his screen. Jack was older, with gray hair and a weathered face. He had seen many battles. "They refuse to help. They say humans are too new, too small to matter. They call this a natural culling of weak species." The word stung, but Nathan showed no emotion. The Galactic Council had rejected humanity's request for membership 3 times. They looked at human worlds and saw nothing special. They looked at human ships and thought them small. They did not know what humans could do when pushed into a corner. Across the void, on the lead Crithian warship, Admiral Zarketh examined the tactical display. His species looked like large insects with hard shells and many eyes. He had crushed 20 civilizations in his long career. This would be number 21. "How many human ships defend the colony?" he asked his sensor operator. Clara checked her screens. She was young for a Crithian, eager to prove herself. "Only one, Admiral. A small vessel. Our data says it is called the Valiant." Zarketh made a clicking sound that meant amusement in his language. "One ship against 300. These humans are either very brave or very stupid. Perhaps both." His tactical officer, Commander Vren, moved closer. "Should we offer them a chance to surrender?" "No," Zarketh said. "The Council wants a message sent. They want other young species to see what happens when they reach beyond their place. We will destroy the ship and the colony. Let it be a lesson." Back on the Valiant, Nathan called his senior staff together. Dr. Peter Hughes arrived first. He was the chief science officer, a thin man with glasses and a mind that worked faster than most computers. Chief engineer Danny Ward came next, wiping oil from his hands. Danny could fix anything, and he had made the Valiant run better than the day it was built. "We are outgunned," Nathan said simply. 300 ships against 1. The nearest human fleet is 7 hours away. We have to hold for 6 hours until the colonists finish evacuating to the underground shelters. Then we hold for 1 more hour until help arrives. "Can we do it?" Jack asked. Nathan looked at each of them in turn. The Crithians have never fought humans before. They think they know what we are. They are wrong. We have advantages they do not understand. Our technology is different. Our tactics are different. Most importantly, they think of war as conquest. We think of war as protection. That makes all the difference. Dr. Hughes spoke up. Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons. Plasma cannons, particle beams, that sort of thing. Our railguns use solid projectiles at extreme velocity. Their shields were not built for that. Danny grinned. And our reactor can output 3 times what their sensors will expect. We can keep our shields running longer and hit harder than they think possible. Karen looked worried still. Even with all that, 300 ships is a lot. "Yes," Nathan agreed. "But we do not need to destroy them all. We just need to make them stop. Make them afraid. Make them hesitate. Buy time." He paused. "And if we do this right, we might teach the galaxy something about humanity." On New Columbia, Governor Helen Price watched the sky. She knew the attack was coming. Shuttles lifted off every few minutes, carrying people to the deep shelters built into the mountains. They had practiced this drill many times. Now it was real. Her assistant ran up to her. "Governor, we have 70% of the population in the shelters. We need another hour." Helen looked up at the stars again. Somewhere out there, one human ship was moving to face an armada. One ship full of people who chose to stand between her colony and destruction. She said a silent prayer for them. The Valiant moved into position. Nathan had chosen his spot carefully. He placed his ship between the colony and the approaching fleet, but not too close to either. He needed room to move, to dodge, to use the Valiant's superior speed. "All systems ready," Danny reported. "Shields at maximum. Weapons charged. Engine at full power." "Good," Nathan said. He opened a channel to the entire crew. "This is the captain. In a few minutes, we will face an enemy that thinks we are weak. They think one ship cannot stand against many. They are about to learn they are wrong. We fight today not for glory or conquest. We fight to protect our people. We fight to show the galaxy that humanity does not run from bullies. Stand ready. Do your duty. Make Earth proud." Across the ship, men and women moved to their stations. Some were afraid, but all were determined. They were the thin line between innocent people and certain death. They would hold that line. The Crithian fleet appeared on the sensors. 300 ships, bristling with weapons, shields glowing with power. They moved in a standard formation, confident and unstoppable. On the Crithian flagship, Clara gasped. "Admiral, the human ship is not running. It is moving toward us." Zarketha's many eyes focused on the display. The tiny human ship was indeed approaching, alone, against impossible odds. "Fools," he said. "They sacrifice themselves for nothing. Vren, prepare to fire. Show them the price of defiance." The distance closed. Two forces approached each other in the silence of space. One massive, one tiny. One confident, one determined. Neither knew how much everything was about to change. Nathan watched the enemy fleet grow larger on his screen. His hands were steady. His voice was calm. "All stations, battle stations. Here they come." The galaxy was about to see what happened when someone made the mistake of threatening humanity's children. The two forces moved closer to each other through the darkness of space. The Crithian armada spread out like a net of death, each ship in perfect formation. They had done this many times before. Attack, destroy, move on. It was simple work. Admiral Zarketh watched the human ship on his screen. It was small, smaller than even his escort vessels. The design was strange, not like any ship he had seen before. It had smooth lines and strange angles. The weapons were hard to identify. The shield signature was unusual. "What do we know about this ship?" he asked. Clara pulled up the data. "Very little, Admiral. Humans are new to space. They have only been traveling beyond their solar system for 30 years. The Council has minimal records on their military capabilities. This appears to be a patrol vessel of some kind." "A patrol vessel against a battle fleet," Vren said with amusement. "They must be desperate." Zarketh was not so certain. Something felt wrong. In his long career, he had learned to trust his instincts. Species that survived long enough to reach space were never completely helpless. Even the weak had tricks. But what tricks could one small ship have against 300? On the Valiant, Nathan stood perfectly still. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. No panic. No shouting. Every person knew their job and did it well. This was what good training looked like. Jack stood beside him, eyes on the tactical display. "They are spreading out. Classic encirclement pattern. They will try to surround us and fire from all sides." "Let them," Nathan said. "The more they spread out, the harder it is for them to support each other. Karen, activate the stealth systems. Not full stealth, just enough to make their targeting solutions fuzzy." "Yes, sir," Karen said. Her fingers danced across her console. The Valiant had technology that most species did not understand. Humans had developed it differently, focusing on different principles. Energy dampening fields, heat dispersal systems, electronic countermeasures. Together, they made the ship hard to target accurately. On the Crithian flagship, Clara frowned at her screens. "Admiral, something is wrong. The human ship's signature is becoming unstable. Our targeting computers are having difficulty locking on." "Some kind of jamming?" Zarketh asked. "Perhaps. But it is unlike any jamming I have seen. It is very sophisticated." Zarketh felt his unease grow. "It does not matter. With 300 ships, even poor targeting will be enough. All vessels, close to combat range. Prepare to fire." On New Columbia, Governor Helen Price received an update. "Governor, 90% in the shelters. Just 10 more minutes." Helen nodded. 10 minutes. Could one ship hold for 10 more minutes against such a force? She wanted to believe. She had to believe. A young boy stood beside her, looking up at the sky. He could not have been more than 7 years old. "Miss Helen, will the Valiant save us?" She knelt down and put her hand on his shoulder. "The Valiant will do everything it can. And that will be enough. Now, you need to get to the shelter with your parents." The boy ran off. Helen stood and looked at the stars again. She whispered, "Please be enough." The Crithian fleet reached weapons range. Zarketh gave the order. "All ships, open fire. Destroy that vessel." 300 ships fired as one. Plasma bolts filled the space between the fleets, brilliant streams of superheated energy lancing toward the Valiant. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Enough firepower to crack a moon. On the Valiant, Nathan watched the incoming fire with calm eyes. Danny, shields to maximum. Karen, evasive pattern delta. The Valiant moved like a dancer. The ship twisted and turned, its advanced engines providing acceleration that seemed impossible for something its size. Most of the plasma bolts missed entirely. The few that hit splashed against shields that absorbed the energy and dispersed it harmlessly. Clara stared at her screen in disbelief. "Admiral, minimal damage to the human ship. Their shields absorbed our entire first volley." "Impossible," Vren said. "Our weapons should have overwhelmed any shield. How can such a small ship have such powerful defenses?" Zarketh said nothing. His unease had become something stronger. Something like fear. This was not going as planned. Nathan allowed himself a small smile. "Their weapons are exactly what we expected. Dr. Hughes, did we get good readings?" Peter looked up from his station, grinning. "Perfect data. Their plasma cannons operate on frequencies we can easily counter. Their shields are optimized for energy weapons only. I am sending the tactical analysis to your station now." Nathan studied the data. The Crithians had built their entire military around energy weapons. Plasma cannons, particle beams, energy shields. It made sense for them. Most species in the galaxy used similar technology. But humans had taken a different path. Humanity remembered its history. Humans remembered projectile weapons, kinetic energy, solid matter moving at extreme speeds. While other species refined energy weapons, humans had perfected railguns. Magnetic acceleration launching solid metal slugs at percentages of light speed. Energy shields could deflect plasma and beams. They were useless against solid matter. "Jack," Nathan said quietly, "target the lead ships. Weapons systems only. I want to send a message." Jack understood. "Showing them we could have destroyed them, but chose not to." "Exactly. Karen, fire when ready." The Valiant's railgun spoke. No bright lights. No visible beams. Just the electromagnetic pulse of the launch and then silence. The tungsten slugs crossed the distance in seconds, moving so fast they were almost invisible. On the Crithian ships, alarms screamed. The projectiles passed through their energy shields like they were not there. Metal hit metal at devastating velocity. Weapons systems exploded. Power conduits ruptured. 10 ships tumbled out of formation, crippled but intact. Clara's voice rose in panic. "Admiral, 10 ships disabled. The human weapons passed right through our shields. I do not understand how this is possible." Zarketh felt ice in his blood. His ships, his mighty fleet, had just been hurt by a single vessel. And that vessel had deliberately avoided killing blows. The humans could have destroyed those ships. They chose not to. It was a warning. Vrenus' voice was shaking. "Admiral, what are your orders?" Zarketh tried to think. Everything he knew about warfare was suddenly useless. The humans fought with weapons his shields could not stop. They moved faster than his ships. They struck with precision he could not match. And they had only used a fraction of their power. He could see that clearly. One ship had disabled 10 of his with a single volley. "All ships," he said slowly, "hold position. Do not advance." The Crithian Armada stopped. 300 ships, the pride of an empire, brought to a halt by one human vessel. On the Valiant, Nathan watched the enemy fleet stop its advance. Good. They were learning. They were beginning to understand that this fight would not go the way they expected. But the battle had only just begun. The silence stretched across space. 2 fleets faced each other, but only one was still confident. Admiral Zarketh stared at the tactical display, his multiple eyes trying to understand what had just happened. 10 of his ships floated helplessly, their weapons destroyed by an enemy that should have been crushed in the first exchange. "Admiral," Vren said carefully, "we still have 290 functional ships. The human vessel is alone. We can overwhelm it with numbers." Zarketh wanted to agree. Everything in his training said that numbers won battles. But something had changed. He had seen the human ship move. He had seen their weapons work. They were not lucky. They were skilled. More than skilled. They were prepared. "Clara," he said, "scan that ship again. I want to know everything. Power output, shield strength, weapons capacity. Everything." Clara worked her console frantically. "Admiral, the readings do not make sense. Their power core is generating energy at levels that should be impossible for a ship that size. The efficiency is far beyond our technology. And their weapons. I am detecting multiple systems I cannot identify." "How many weapons?" "At least 6 different types. Maybe more. They are using technology one have never seen." Zarketh felt his confidence drain away. The humans had not shown all their weapons yet. They had used one type and crippled 10 ships. What would happen if they used all 6? But he could not retreat. The Council was watching. His empire was watching. To run from one ship would bring shame worse than death. "All ships, surround the enemy. Close formation. When we fire next, I want every weapon aimed at that ship. We will destroy it through sheer volume of fire." The Crithian fleet moved. Ships accelerated from all sides, forming a sphere around the Valiant. It was a classic tactic, one that had worked against every enemy Zarketh had ever faced. No ship could dodge fire coming from every direction at once. On the Valiant, Jack watched the enemy movements. "They are surrounding us. Good discipline. They will fire from all angles simultaneously." Nathan nodded. "Expected. Danny, how are the shields holding?" Chief Engineer Danny Ward grinned from his station in engineering. "Still at 97% capacity, Captain. That first volley barely tickled us. The reactor is purring like a kitten. We can take a lot more punishment." "Good. Peter, prepare the kinetic torpedoes. Proximity fuses, wide dispersal pattern. I want to thin out their formation." Dr. Hughes worked quickly. Torpedoes armed and ready. Calculating optimal detonation points now. Karen called out, "Enemy ships in position. All vessels are targeting us. They are preparing to fire." Nathan's voice was steady. "Launch torpedoes on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." The Valiant launched a spread of 12 torpedoes. They shot out in all directions, small compared to the ship but packed with explosive power. Each one contained compressed matter surrounded by a magnetic containment field. When the field collapsed, the matter expanded violently. Zarketh saw the launches. "Missiles incoming. All ships, activate point defense." Crithian point defense systems came online. Energy beams lanced out, trying to destroy the incoming torpedoes. They hit several, detonating them prematurely. But the rest kept coming. The torpedoes reached their programmed positions and exploded. Not nuclear explosions. Something different. The space around them filled with thousands of small metal fragments, each moving at extreme velocity in expanding spheres of destruction. Krithian ships caught in the blast zones shuddered under the impact. Their energy shields stopped some fragments, but not all. The metal pieces punched through shields designed for energy weapons and tore into hulls. Systems failed. Engines died. Weapons went offline. Clara's voice was nearly a scream. 20 ships disabled. 15 more with heavy damage. The explosions created debris fields that penetrated our shields. Vren stumbled backward. How are they doing this? Our shields should protect us. Zarketh finally understood. The humans did not use energy weapons. They used solid matter. Projectiles. Physical force. Everything the Krithian military had built was designed to counter the wrong threat. It was like bringing armor designed to stop swords to a gunfight. All ships, fire. Fire everything. Zarketh commanded. Desperation crept into his voice. The remaining Krithian ships unleashed everything they had. Plasma bolts by the thousands filled space. The Valiant disappeared in a storm of energy fire. Surely nothing could survive that. Surely no shield could withstand such concentrated force. On the Valiant, alarms rang. Shields at 60%, Danny called out. Holding steady. Reactor compensating. We are still in good shape. Nathan allowed himself a moment of pride in his ship and crew. The Valiant was taking fire that would have destroyed any other vessel in the human fleet. But she was built for this. Every system, every component, every design choice was made with one purpose in mind. Protect human lives. Karen, target their command ships. Railguns, full power. Disable their ability to coordinate. Targeting now, Karen replied. Her fingers moved with practiced precision. Firing. The Valiant's main railguns fired again. Tungsten slugs accelerated to 0.2% of light speed. At that velocity, the kinetic energy was devastating. The slugs crossed the distance in heartbeats and struck their targets with surgical precision. Command vessels throughout the Krithian fleet went dark. Not destroyed. Disabled. Their communication arrays shattered. Their bridge systems fried. Their ability to give orders ended. Suddenly, 250 Krithian ships had no central command. They began firing independently, without coordination. Some stopped shooting, afraid of hitting their own ships. Others continued blindly. Chaos spread through the fleet. On the Krithian flagship, emergency lights flickered. Zarketha's command chair sparked and died. Backup systems struggled to come online. He pulled himself up, his body aching from the impact. "Status," he demanded. Clara looked up from a barely functioning console. "Communications are gone. Weapons offline. Engines at minimal power. We are dead in space, Admiral. And we are not alone. I count 40 command ships disabled. The fleet has lost all coordination." Zarketh looked at the screen showing the human ship. It sat there, shields glowing, weapons ready, completely functional. Around it floated the wreckage of his pride. Not destroyed. Disabled. The humans could have killed everyone. They chose not to. They were making a point. Vren's voice was hollow. "What do we do, Admiral?" Zarketh had no answer. For the first time in his long career, he had met an enemy he could not defeat. An enemy that fought with weapons he could not counter. An enemy that showed mercy even when they held all the power. He had come to teach the humans a lesson. Instead, he was learning one himself. On the Valiant, Nathan watched the Krithian fleet drift in confusion. "Jack, open a channel. All frequencies. Let them hear this." "Channel open, sir." Nathan spoke clearly. "Krithian fleet, this is Captain Nathan Cole of the human warship Valiant. You came here to destroy innocent people. You failed. Your ships are disabled. Your weapons are useless. You cannot win this fight. I am giving you one chance. Withdraw now. Leave this system. If you do not, the next shots will not be so merciful. Choose wisely." You have 5 minutes. The message ended. Across the Crithian fleet, on every ship that still had power, the words were heard and understood. The galaxy was about to change forever. 5 minutes. Admiral Zarketh had 5 minutes to make a decision that would define the rest of his life. Around him, what remained of his bridge crew worked to restore basic systems. Emergency power hummed weakly through damaged circuits. The main screen flickered, showing the human ship still hovering there, waiting. "Can we restore weapons?" he asked quietly. Vren shook his head. "No, Admiral. The damage is too severe. We would need a full repair dock. Days of work, maybe weeks." Communications. Local only. Short range. We can talk to nearby ships, but our long-range transmitters are destroyed. Zarketh looked at Clara. "How many ships can still fight?" She checked her damaged console. "Less than 10% of the fleet, Admiral. Maybe 20 or 30 ships. The rest are disabled or too damaged to be effective. And those ships that can fight have no coordination. No central command. They would be fighting alone." The numbers were crushing. 300 ships reduced to 30. One human vessel had done this. One ship with weapons his fleet had no defense against. One ship that moved faster and hit harder than anything he had ever seen. And they had been merciful. That was perhaps the most frightening part. The humans could have destroyed his entire fleet. They chose not to. "What do you recommend?" Zarketh asked his officers. Vren spoke first. "We should withdraw. Live to fight another day. Study their technology. Learn their weaknesses. Return with weapons that can counter theirs." It was logical. It was smart. It was also an admission of total defeat. On the Valiant, Nathan watched the clock count down. 4 minutes left. He knew what the Crithian admiral was going through. Pride versus survival. Honor versus wisdom. It was never an easy choice. "Captain," Peter said from his station, "I am detecting energy signatures from some of the remaining functional Crithian ships. They might be preparing to retreat." "Good," Nathan replied. "Let us hope their commander is smart enough to take the opportunity." Jack turned to him. "And if they attack instead?" Nathan's face hardened. "Then we finish this. I gave them a choice. If they choose wrong, we will make sure they cannot threaten New Columbia ever again." 3 minutes. Across the void, on dozens of Crithian ships, crews faced the same questions. Young soldiers looked to their officers. Officers looked to their captains. Everyone wondered what would happen next. On one destroyer, a young captain named Kirvan made his decision. He had watched the battle. He had seen his weapons fail. He had seen his admiral's flagship disabled with casual ease. He knew when he was beaten. "Helmsman," he said quietly, "set course out of the system. Maximum speed." "Sir." "Without orders from the admiral." "The admiral cannot give orders. His communications are down. I am exercising independent command authority. I will not throw away my crew's lives in a battle we cannot win. Set the course." The destroyer turned and began to accelerate away from the battlefield. Others saw and followed. One ship became 5. 5 became 10. Soon, a stream of Crithian vessels was fleeing the system. On the Valiant, Karen reported the movements. "Captain, multiple Crithian ships are withdrawing. They are breaking formation and leaving the system." "How many?" Nathan asked. 20 so far. More are turning away." Nathan nodded. "Let them go. Track them but do not fire. Anyone who chooses to leave can leave." 2 minutes. Zarketh saw the ships leaving on his damaged screen. His fleet was abandoning him. Part of him felt anger. Part of him felt relief. They would live. That was what mattered. "Admiral," Vren said gently, "we need to make a decision. The human gave us 5 minutes. We have less than 2 left." Zarketh closed his eyes. He thought of all the battles he had won, all the enemies he had crushed, all the glory he had earned for his empire. And he thought about what the humans had shown him today. They could have killed him. They could have destroyed every ship in his fleet. Instead, they disabled them. They gave warning shots. They offered surrender. They showed mercy. That was not the behavior of a weak species. That was the behavior of a confident one. A species that did not need to prove anything. A species that was strong enough to show restraint. He opened his eyes. Signal the human ship. Tell them we accept their terms. We will withdraw. Vren looked relieved. Yes, Admiral. Clara, send the message. 1 minute. On the Valiant, Jack straightened. Captain, we are receiving a transmission from the Crithian flagship. They are surrendering. They request permission to recover their damaged ships and withdraw from the system. Nathan felt tension drain from his shoulders. Granted. Tell them they have safe passage. No human ship will fire on them as long as they leave peacefully. And Jack, offer them assistance if they need it. Medical supplies, repair equipment, whatever they need to get their wounded home safely. Jack blinked in surprise. Sir, we are offering to help them? After they came here to destroy us? Yes, Nathan said firmly. We defend ourselves when attacked. We protect our people. But we do not kick enemies when they are down. That is not who we are. Send the message. When the offer reached the Crithian flagship, Zarketh stared at the translation in disbelief. The humans were offering help. Medical aid. Supplies. After everything, they were showing kindness. Accept their offer, he said quietly, and send them my personal thanks. Hours passed. The Crithian fleet slowly gathered its damaged ships and began the long journey home. Human medical teams transferred over to help with the wounded. Human engineers shared basic repair techniques. Throughout it all, the Valiant maintained a respectful distance, watching but not threatening. On New Columbia, Governor Helen Price received word that the threat was over. The enemy had withdrawn. Not a single shot had been fired at the colony. The Valiant had done the impossible. She ordered the shelters opened. People poured out into the sunlight, crying with relief and joy. Above them, one small ship had stood against 301 without destroying them. It was a miracle. Far away, in the great chamber of the Galactic Council, emergency sessions were being called. Word of the battle had spread quickly. Council members who had dismissed humanity as insignificant now watched recordings of the fight with growing concern. Council Speaker Norvan, leader of the Assembly, watched the data with his advisors. One ship, he said slowly. One human ship defeated a Crithian armada. How is this possible? His military advisor, a veteran of many wars, spoke carefully. Their technology is different from ours, Speaker. They use kinetic weapons instead of energy weapons. Our shields do not protect against such attacks. And their power generation is far beyond what we thought possible for a species so new to space travel. Could they threaten the Council? Norvan asked. The advisor paused. If they wanted to, yes. But that is not what concerns me most. What concerns you? They showed mercy. They could have destroyed the entire Crithian fleet. Instead, they disabled them and let them go. Then they offered medical aid. Speaker, this is not the behavior of a species that seeks conquest. This is the behavior of a species that values life, even enemy life. Norvan understood. The galaxy had many powerful species. Many aggressive ones. Many dangerous ones. But a species that was both powerful and merciful? That was rare. That was valuable. Prepare a message to the human government, he said. The Council wishes to discuss membership. Immediately. The galaxy had changed in a single afternoon. Humanity had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same. 3 weeks after the battle, Captain Nathan Cole stood in a place he never expected to be. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was enormous, with ceilings that stretched up into darkness and walls covered in symbols from 1,000 different civilizations. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the chamber, all watching him. He wore his dress uniform, clean and pressed. Beside him stood Ambassador George Palmer, the human diplomatic envoy. George was an older man with white hair and a calm smile. He had spent 20 years trying to get humanity into the Council. Today, it would finally happen. Council Speaker Norvan rose from his seat. His species looked like tall, elegant birds with feathers that shimmered in the light. He had led the council for 40 years and had seen many things. But this was a first. "Captain Cole," Norvan said, his voice carrying through the hall, "you stand before this council as a representative of humanity. 3 weeks ago, a single human vessel faced an armada of 300 ships. By all logic, that vessel should have been destroyed. Instead, it disabled the armada and showed mercy to the defeated. The council would like to understand how this is possible." Nathan stepped forward. He felt nervous but did not show it. "Speaker, the answer is simple. We humans build our ships differently because we think about war differently. Most species in the galaxy use energy weapons. We use kinetic weapons, solid matter moving at extreme speeds. Our technology developed along a different path." "But why show mercy?" another council member asked. "You had won. You could have destroyed your enemies completely." Nathan looked at the questioner. "Because destroying them was not our goal. Our goal was to protect the colony. Once the threat was neutralized, there was no need for more violence. The Crithian soldiers were just following orders. Many of them probably had families waiting at home. Why kill them if we did not have to?" The chamber was quiet. Many species in the council had never considered such thinking. War was war. You destroyed your enemies. That was how it worked. But humans thought differently. Ambassador Palmer spoke up. "Humanity learned hard lessons in our history. We fought terrible wars on our homeworld. Wars that killed millions. We learned that strength without wisdom leads only to more suffering. We learned that the true measure of power is knowing when not to use it." Norvan nodded slowly. "These are wise words. The Council has discussed humanity's application for membership. In the past, we rejected your requests because we thought you were too small, too new, too weak. We were wrong. The question now is not whether humanity deserves membership. The question is whether the Council deserves to have humanity as a member." He paused, letting the words sink in. "I propose full membership for humanity, with all rights and protections." All in favor. The vote was nearly unanimous. Only a handful abstained. No one voted against. Humanity was officially part of the Galactic Council. After the ceremony, Nathan found himself approached by an unexpected visitor. Admiral Zarketh walked toward him slowly. The Crithian admiral looked older somehow, his hard shell seeming less imposing than before. "Captain Cole," Zarketh said formally. "May I speak with you?" "Of course, Admiral," Nathan replied. They walked to a quiet corner of the hall. Zarketh was silent for a moment, then spoke. "I came to kill you and everyone in your colony. You stopped me. You defeated my entire fleet. And then you helped us. You sent medical teams. You gave us supplies. Why?" Nathan considered the question. "Because you were no longer a threat. Because your wounded soldiers needed help. Because it was the right thing to do." "I do not understand your species," Zarketh admitted. "You have weapons that make you nearly unstoppable. You could dominate this galaxy if you wanted to. But you do not. Why?" "Because domination is not the goal," Nathan said. "We did not come to space to conquer. We came to explore. To learn. To meet new species and make friends, not enemies. Yes, we can fight when we must. But we prefer peace." Zarketh made a clicking sound. "You have changed how I think about war, Captain. For that, I am grateful. The Crithian Empire has requested a formal peace treaty with humanity. We would like to learn from you." Nathan smiled. "I think that can be arranged, Admiral." Later, Nathan returned to the Valiant. His crew greeted him with cheers and congratulations. They had become heroes across human space and beyond. News of the battle had spread throughout the galaxy. Everyone wanted to know about the small ship that defeated an armada. Jack found him on the bridge. "Captain, we just received new orders. Admiral Linda Grant is establishing a permanent human fleet presence in this sector. We are being promoted to flagship status." "More ships are coming?" Nathan asked. 20 vessels. We are building a proper defense network. And Nathan, other species are asking for our protection. 5 different colonies have requested human security forces. Nathan sat in his command chair and looked at the stars through the view screen. 3 weeks ago, humanity was dismissed as insignificant. Now, they were sought after as protectors. The galaxy had learned what happened when you threatened human colonies. But more importantly, it had learned what humanity stood for. Karen approached with a data pad. "Captain, I have the final casualty reports from the battle." "How many did we lose?" Nathan asked, dreading the answer. "None, sir. Not a single member of our crew was killed. 14 Crithian soldiers died from their injuries before our medical teams could help them, but we saved hundreds more. And we did not lose anyone from New Columbia." Nathan felt relief wash over him. No human deaths. That was what mattered. That was always what mattered. Weeks turned into months. The human fleet grew. More colonies were established. But more importantly, relationships grew. Species that had been enemies for generations started talking, inspired by humanity's example. The Council became more focused on cooperation rather than competition. On New Columbia, Governor Helen Price dedicated a memorial. It was a simple stone monument with the names of every person who served on the Valiant that day. At the top were carved the words, "They stood alone so we would not fall." The young boy who had asked about the Valiant stood beside his parents at the dedication. He was older now, thinking about his future. Maybe he would join the fleet someday. Maybe he would explore new worlds. Maybe he would help build the peaceful galaxy that humanity was working toward. On Earth, in the halls of the military academy, the Battle of New Columbia became required study. Students learned about the tactics, the technology, the decisions that Captain Cole made. But the most important lesson was the final one. The lesson about mercy. About knowing when to stop fighting. About protecting life, even enemy life. Admiral Linda Grant visited the Valiant 1 last time before Nathan was promoted and transferred to command of the new Sector Defense Force. She found him in his quarters, packing his belongings. "You changed everything, Nathan," she said. "One battle, and suddenly the whole galaxy sees humanity differently." "We just did our job," he replied. "No. You did more than that. You showed them who we are. Not just what our weapons can do, but who we are as people. That matters more than any technology." Nathan nodded. "I hope you are right, Admiral. I hope we can build something good here. A galaxy where strength serves peace. Where different species work together. Where conflicts end without everyone dying." "We will," Linda said confidently. "Because that is what humans do. We dream of better worlds and then we build them." The Valiant remained in service for many years. It became a symbol of human values across the galaxy. Young officers from many species requested to serve on it, learning about human military philosophy and tactics. The ship that stood alone against an armada became the ship that brought species together. Admiral Zarketh retired from military service and became an ambassador for the Crithian Empire. He spent his remaining years teaching young Crithians about the importance of restraint, about understanding your enemy, about choosing peace when possible. He often told the story of the day he met humanity and learned what true strength looked like. The Galactic Council flourished under new leadership that embraced cooperation. Trade increased. Scientific collaboration brought breakthroughs. Cultural exchange enriched every species. And at the center of it all, humanity quietly worked to make the galaxy better for everyone. Years later, a historian from a distant species wrote about the Battle of New Columbia. The conclusion of her book read, "On that day, when one small ship faced 300, humanity taught the galaxy its most important lesson. True power is not about how much you can destroy. True power is about how much you can protect. True strength is not in the willingness to fight, but in the wisdom to know when fighting is necessary and when mercy is possible." Humanity did not conquer the galaxy. They did not need to. Instead, they showed the galaxy a better way. And in doing so, they became more influential than any conqueror could ever be. The stars still stretched across the void like scattered diamonds on black velvet. But now, among those stars, humanity had found its place. Not as rulers or conquerors, but as protectors, teachers, and friends. And that was more than enough.